Sharing chair is not sounding this. I hope not. Okay. I'm also doing no, no, no. No, I'm saying for the sound of the chair. No, no. It's very low. It's very low.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here once again. My name is Olufunsho Akesanya. I am member 001 of Rainy Day Cooperative, and it's my pleasure to welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome you this evening, or whatever time you'll be watching this recording in the future. Our topic today is build my home. And the whole point of doing this is that we realize that for most people, their home is their most prized asset. So if your home is your most prized asset, why not find out how to build properly? Even if it's not your most prized asset, a home is not something you build and you collapse the next morning to change. It's not a tissue paper. Neither is it neither is your home a destination that you can go and say, I'm not doing again, I'm coming back. So the point of having this conversation and Q&A is for us to address the priority that a home has in the life of any family or individual. And it's on that note that I will be welcoming you this evening. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, you can check us out at rainydaycoop.com, RAINYDAYCOOP.com. We are registered and regulated by the Lagos State Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And it's my pleasure to have our main speaker today, Snag Inspector, who is also a founding member of Rainy Day Cooperative Society. So I'd expect that you listen attentively. If you are listening in the future and you have questions, you do well to send us an email or reach out to the Snag Inspector handle on any of the social media channels. But for the purpose of this conversation, there will be a lecture session for about 30 minutes maximum, and there will be question and answers for at least 30 minutes afterwards. Do well to prepare your questions, and we would also do well to answer your questions exhaustively. Thank you very much.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Um, what you're seeing right now is information that basic construction there. You see on the screen. I don't know what that's machine, right? The coming you see on the screen basic construction, basic Africa, and so on, and that was the foundation phase 2024 February. We had foundation that time. First, well, I don't want to get into this. It's quite an interesting project, and you can see here, feeding the land, feeding the land, and it's something that I think we should all respectfully. We should all learn. A lot of times we get into projects and we don't know what and what is required. So just watching the video, you can see more on this particular project in the you can see more on this particular project. You can see more on this particular project in on our YouTube page, Snag Inspector at YouTube.com/Snag Inspector. That's SNAGINSPECTOR. So thank you for joining. We are Space Build Construction Limited. So today's class or session, I decided to make it like a class, and I'll try and make it very short so that we can all put, we can all make a good impact, significant moments in the course of the session and to be quite interactive. So we're talking about building your own home, right? And we're saying what are the things? So I've outlined them here. There is a lot of other things, but to just make it easy to understand and make it easy for everyone to mentally participate, we decided to talk about it. So what I decided to write it down. So we have about if we have a few factors listed here, and then I'm playing a few videos for us to get into it. We said the first factor, appropriate design, site selection. I hope we can see this a bit clearly. Appropriate design, site selection, contract method, structure methodology, government and other stakeholder management, and stakeholder management, and finishing/maintenance. Those are the key issues. Now, before we go on, please, for those of you who are here for the first time, even if you haven't here for the first time, please, I'd like to encourage us to share the live session with everybody. So please, let's take a second to share the link of this session with at least 50 people, 50 persons. Share on your WhatsApp status, share with like 5 to 10 persons and say, how do you want to build your house? Do you want your house to last? Do you want your house to have problems? Do you want a house that people for? Just put something funny on that. So I'll be playing some videos and we're waiting for you in 2 minutes. I want you all to share and then we'll get into the main lecture. So can you please help us play the video? Those videos. Starting with anyone, start with any of them. So we'll be playing some videos while I encourage us to all share the link to this live session. Let as many persons as we know share with them on the WhatsApp groups. So please feel free. Thank you. So please just share. All right, so please share the screen now. Seeing that. Seeing that, just going to check out. All right, so this is a video that trended over the last few days. someone just renovated their family house. Can you play the video like this same on the video before this particular house? So they just renovated their family house. They and I want to yes, thank you. So they just renovated their family house. And I want us to look at this video. We're all familiar. This is a very common design style. A lot of Nigerian houses look like this, family houses and so forth. And look at this. They took it. Now a lot of our family houses have these issues, and some of us have to start thinking, can it come back to life? Do you just need to demolish? How do you determine if you should demolish this particular building, for example, or support it? Like these guys, they decided to support it on the side, introduce a few things on the floor slabs, introduce a few things in the columns, and they did a bit of work, and eventually they brought it back to life. So you see what they have done there. They call it, this is underpinning, but it's not technically underpinning because it doesn't fulfill all the requirements, but you can call it underpinning if you don't want to get into technical arguments. But you're seeing what they've done. So they basically took this house to the ground, and then of course they brought it back up. And of course you can see all the houses in the background looking exactly like that. And you wonder, why can't we upgrade all the houses like that? Of course, economics and other factors, skill factors, and the like. And they brought it back. So I don't know if you can make the video faster. If not, you can just let it play. Yeah, make it a bit faster. Yeah, thank you. So you can see how they worked on that. And they did quite a few things professionally. They didn't do some things professionally. For example, their workers were not a BP, but they have this net. I hope you all know the function of the net. We can discuss that in the course of the video if you're interested. I mean, in the session if you're interested. They did well. They added a building to it. They did the gatehouse and all that, and it became a very nice house. We can skip to the next video so that we don't take too much time on this particular one. So we want to just the one that is the one I played, the one that is 19 seconds, the one that I played for me in yes. So let's start with this. Now this is what that house would have looked like. And a lot of times people ask themselves, what should I do with this family house? We receive question, should I demolish? We have a couple that we have received. Should I demolish this family house? So maybe I should start with that. How do you determine whether I should do you should start a new project? Here you can end it. So the first question I'd like us to start with. New project or buy and renovate. Which one is the best? There are many ways to answer that question. So there's no single right or wrong answer. Do you want to buy bare land? First question, of course, where would you find land? And that leads us to this site selection, appropriate design, owning your home. Do you want to buy? There was a time when it was very affordable to buy land in places like Ikare, Surulere, and Buda. Parts of Yaba, you get land for about 3 million to 5 million naira. At that time, maybe buying an existing family building, breaking it down, or supporting it and renovating would have made sense. Now, it's quite difficult to achieve that, right? Which one is it? So again, the question, which one would you like to do? And what are the factors that determine what you can do between buying a new green plot of land and then buying an existing one to renovate? I'm not going to give you any answer. That's you. What are the factors that you have considered in running your own projects? But those factors are more. There are a multitude of factors.
All right. So I need to increase also that my speaker is not that loud. So I am switching now. So I was saying that which one would you prefer? And which one, what is the ideal? Should you buy existing land somewhere in Surulere, buy existing building? Obviously, you can hardly find land in Surulere. Somewhere in Ipo, somewhere in K2, or outside Lagos, somewhere in Use in Abuja, somewhere in Ibadan. Let's say Apata, for example. I don't know who would go and build in Apata anyway, but that's just by me. So, which one would you choose? There are cost factors, there are structural factors. If the house is not structurally fit, and you go and buy in the name of renovation, you know there will be problem. So you have to ask yourself all of these questions. If you are picking bare land, how do you determine the best location for you? We have a common problem today. It's because of the wet climate and because of poor power in Nigeria. And we say Nigeria is hot. If everywhere is hot, where do you get sites that the wind will not be obstructed? In Lagos, for example, where do you get sites where your wind flow will not be? These arrows are indicating approximate wind flow, right? So where do you get wind flow where your house is not obstructed by land to the side, land to the back, land here, or even if there's a street across, there's probably a big building opposite you. How do you ensure that there is sufficient airflow? Because your own building can have all the windows. We've been talking about windows. Some people say, Science Inspector, you talk about windows. And I always want to tell people that your windows may not be enough. They may actually not be enough. Because if your house is somewhere in Eko Idumota, if it's a bungalow, if you like have the biggest windows, I can promise you ventilation will be zero. Why? Because in Idumota, of course, you all know how they build. So if you can build 2 floors in Idumota, you are gone. If you like build even the same level, 4 floors that they typically build, 4 to 5 floors, as long as you are in that Idumota where all the houses are standing side by side like this, please tell me how wind goes through the houses. There's no wind, right? Idumota, parts of Ibutemeta and the rest. So these are the issues that we need to face. So how do you choose your site? Cost is a factor, right? We are talking about affordability, but we're also talking about security. You're also thinking about accessibility. There's a general rule that access roads, you need to have double access to a site. That's in from one way, out from another way, so that your house is not a deadlocked place. How do you define accessibility or access to the site, right? Security, of course, I've mentioned that, and a few other factors. So you need to answer that question. Then, of course, we go to appropriate design. What design is appropriate for your location? There are zoning laws. There are places where, in Yaba, for example, there are places where you cannot have more than, I think, 15 persons per hectare. That's low density. If you have 15 persons per hectare, that's low density. And I think there are places where it's 150 persons per hectare. I think that's medium density. Or yeah, I think that's medium. That's high density in Lagos by Lagos definition. 150, yeah. 115 to 30 or so is low density. We can talk about those details. But my point is, what design is appropriate so that you don't even take a design in the first place that will give you issues. A bungalow is low density. Every bungalow is low density. Obviously, a bungalow will not take too many people. So if you have a bungalow and you are building a bungalow somewhere in Alexander in Ikoyi, you know that you have, according to the zoning law, you have wasted money because the Alexander and I think Glover and Co, you have to go minimum of 6 floors, right? So you need to look into those factors. Contract method. Now this is where people begin to get into trouble. So let us say you've gotten appropriate design. Of course, you know you should always work with professionals, always work with an architect, always work with a surveyor in selecting your site so that you don't get into a site that the government has said don't build here for security reasons or whatever. I mean, except for security, for road expansion and other, government plans that are coming up. So let's assume you've done everything right in terms of site selection and zoning, right? And then design rather. What is the next step? Contract. We talk about contract method. Now, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. I don't know the exact number, but I'll tell you off the top of my head that 70 plus percent, sorry, wrong time, 70% or more of Nigerians prefer to build 70% or more of Nigerians prefer to build by direct labor. If you are a professional watching this video, either watching the video in future, you would agree with me. 70% of Nigerians prefer to do the work themselves. Sometimes it's due to economics, they don't want to be cheated or swindled. There is that. But sometimes it's also because of ignorance, because you feel you don't know who can, because they don't know the people that can do the work for them. And so they just decide, oh, let's just go and call Baba, Mr. Daniel. Let's just go and call Baba Fatai, someone that they already have a relationship with, and they just give the person. They just say, "I'll pay the workers. You just help me to be looking at them." Then the second method is, you work with a contractor where you call a company such as ours, and then you just monitor the work. This has its edits. This has its edits. This is obviously cheaper. Direct labor is obviously cheaper. And a lot of people say, oh, do this so that you save money. But do you understand the technical aspects of the work? Do you know all the things you need to know before you say, are you competent to select workers yourself? How do you know that the bricklayer you have selected the direct labor is laying the bricks the right way? How do you know the mix ratio? How do you know that your foreman who you put in charge of the site when you go to work is competent, especially those of you who are in the diaspora, and you are a lot of times people fall into the trap of engaging their family members who they trust but who are not competent. So it's not even about trust now. It's trust is a critical factor, obviously, but how about competence? So somebody can be trustworthy and not stealing from you or cheating you, but is not competent. There's a video I want to quickly play. A house that was meant to be. Please play one of those videos. I sent 3 of that house. A house that was meant to be commissioned just 3 days before. Let him quickly play that for us, please. Okay, so while he tries to play it, I will show you. So the person built a house for the person finished building their house, and 3 days before, sorry. Yeah. So this is a house, I think it's in Delta State or Edo State or something. They said the wind blew and the wind destroyed half of the house to the side you can see. Now the question you would ask is, how did the wind did not just destroy the roof. If they said the wind just destroyed the roof, that would be fine. But they said the wind also destroyed the block work. The wind brought down the fence. So how did wind bring down the fence of a house that is as big as this? This, from the top of my head, is easily a 100 to 200 million naira project. So how did you spend 200 million naira and wind is blowing away your building? I hope you can see it clearly. We just got the video. It's a rough recording the person did. So look at that side. It's all crumbled. That a wall failed, and they said it was rain that did that. How would rain do that? Competence is the question. Competence. So it's not about money at this point, because you can see that the person spends money. But do they have a competent person running the work? Do they have a competent team running the work? How do you select a competent team? So number one thing I would ask you that we'll always talk about is certification. Is the person licensed and certified? If the person is not licensed, if the team building for you is not licensed and certified, you already have a problem, right? Now, beyond the idea of licenses and certifications, because you can actually have somebody who is licensed and certified, but has not done that scale of work before, does not understand that location, right? So beyond certification and competence, are they using the right tools? Are they using the right tools? So for example, if you are doing your concreting, you are supposed to take out honeycombs by vibrating. If you've not provided money for a vibrating machine, for example, your columns, if you are not if you are not using if you don't engage a vibrator on your site, for example, how are you going to ensure that your concrete columns are properly vibrated so that there is no air pocket, so that your concrete will not experience that biscuit effect that we call honeycombing and all the other things that come with it, spalling and the likes? How do you do your foundation? Do you have the leveling tool, called leveling, Leveling? Do you have the right leveling tools so that your foundation is on the right level, so that you are not picking foundation? Your engineer will draw maybe 750 mm, right? So your foundation is usually maybe this is the soil. This is usually a wall. Sometimes it's a concrete column, sometimes it's a wall, depending. And then this is lining and all of that. Your foundation is like this. How do you determine that they've done this 600 mm the right way, and this one maybe 300 or 200 mm? How do you determine that they've done it the right way? Because the foundation is under the ground. That's what failed in this particular video that we're seeing. Okay, so it's a competence question, it's a tools question, it's also a time question. Some of you select somebody to work with you, and to be honest, those people are good, but you are pressing their neck inappropriately. I'm not saying you should not pressurize them, and that brings us to monitoring mechanisms. What are the questions you should be asking your the people working on your project, whether it's directly or whether it's a contractor? What are the questions you'll be asking? I'll give you two questions. Number one, you should have set clear targets. As at 1st of January, as at 1st of April, I give you 15 million naira. What would I see on 1st of April? What are the redundancies that you have provided in case in case nature interrupts us, in case workers interrupt us, in case, what are the mitigation factors? You ask the person critical questions. It's an interview, it's a job interview that you are giving this person. So you are not saying, oh, this guy is my friend. Tolani is my friend. She built for Mrs. Rose. She can build for me. Interview the person, sit the person down. What happens if there's a heavy rain on the day you are casting? If you don't know what to do, call your friend who is a structural engineer. Call your friend who is an engineer, a builder or something, to interview that person. Of course, pay the person well, please. Nothing is free, you get. So what is your monitoring mechanism? So ask the person questions about risk management, ask the person questions about their firing and hiring methodology, and most importantly, ask them about their quality assurance and quality control process. Because there are certain things that it is until they are implemented that QA/QC comes in, right? So how do you make sure there's QA/QC consistently done while the work is going on? Moving on quickly, construction methodology. What's the method you want to use? Do you want to cast in situ, which is obviously cheaper? That's cast on site. Or do you want to do precast prefab units? So for example, let me give you a simple example. Your ceiling, what we call POP, is cast in situ. What we call gypsum board is technically prefabricated because it's got POP elements in it, and it has been baked on site, and then it is brought and they just screw it into your ceiling. So gypsum board typically does not fall. POP almost has a higher risk of falling. It doesn't, I'm not saying it will always follow, but it has a higher risk of falling if certain things are not done well, e.g. the hook, e.g. the what do you call it, the mesh that is used to attach it to the ceiling. POP is held up to the ceiling by a hook first for the slab, and then there's a mesh that they usually use. So that's why we call it suspended ceiling. So if is your methodology. Sometimes it is not that the person who is doing it is not doing a good job. Is that you have not given the person the money for the method you want. If you want gypsum board and you are paying the person less than that, the money that it will cover, you have issues. If you want fast construction, you choose prefab, but you pay more. If you are okay with taking time, use your POP. This is just an example. There are other components. There is the same thing for the gutter. There's the same thing for the color. I said gutter. Sorry, the drainage on site. You know, you have people prefabricate their drainage, which is more excellent and easier to do, but it costs you way more. So for all of the elements, your columns, your beams, and the lights, you need to know what method you are going to do to work on. Going back to the issue of Nigeria is hot. Now, there was a time when we used to have courtyards in Nigerian homes up till maybe I would say up till maybe 2004. 2004, courtyards were still prominent in Nigerian homes up to in designing Nigerian homes, maybe up to 2007, in fact. But the moment the Nigerian economy started to rise significantly, people started taking out courtyards. Now, what happened when we took out courtyards? Our houses, you know, the courtyard this is our design for courtyard. So you have room here, you have whatever here, and then you have space. And then a lot of those houses also had outer courts, forecourt. So you have a courtyard inside and a forecourt. It filters air that comes into your house so that your house is not an oven. So many of us built ovens and we're complaining that the oven is baking us. Why did you build an oven in the first place? That's a question for those who have built those houses. So you need to pick the design that works with your site. You need to pick the contractor that works with your budget and your site. You need to pick the construction method that works with your budget, that your contractor understands or your laborers understand, working within your site and appropriate for your design. And of course, government and stakeholder management. Stakeholder, Omonile, you must work with Omonile, you must pay them money before you lay foundation, you know all of those things. You must pay the government for approval. If you have questions on those, we can answer those questions. And you need to, and of course, taste. Customer taste is one of the big issues these days. Now, it's not a problem, but it is something that we have to understand and respect. So, for example, in the house that I showed you, I recommended certain things for the person when we designed in my team. When I say I, in this case, my team, we recommended that the person should do certain things in the house on the ground floor. He should use certain materials, but because of his social status, he rejected those things. Now, if someone sees it, they say, this is not what you like. Yes, that's not what I like, but I'm not the owner of the house. I must respect the choice of the person who owns the house. Now, this is one thing that also happens in a lot of Nigerian homes, where we see that somebody has built something and we are questioning the quality, we are questioning what they've done and so forth. We need to understand that sometimes, so this case of slim windows that we're talking about is the reason why I'm talking about this in particular. This case of slim windows, people talk about slim windows. Now, these slim windows, they used to be functional windows, but depending on your experience and exposure, you remember that there was a time when lecture halls in universities, in cultural places like event centers, government halls and the like, they used to have these kinds of windows. I hope you can see it on the screen. So this was the window. It used to allow light in, and it used to be slim. It used to be around 600. You can see it in the most prominent, the closest example to me. I'm in Lagos State now, so I'm going to use Lagos State. The closest example to me is Julius Berger Hall in University of Lagos, and I think the Art Theatre in University of Lagos, the Faculty of Arts Hall in University of Lagos. So they used to have this. This would both capture air, and so it will capture air and capture light. So this is one of the origins. Then I'm taking you to a little bit of architectural class now. In the 1960s, when 1950s to 1960s, when we had the modern architecture movement by what's the name of this man in Germany, by the Bauhaus School. By the Bauhaus School, these slim windows were a form of minimalism. Now remember that in Germany they have high cold winters, extreme cold winters, so they need to let more air out and allow minimal light, except during the summer when they now project. And even during the summer in some of those countries, the temperatures are still as low as 10 to 15 degrees at some points of the year before it reaches 25. So you need limited fenestration. When we adopted it in, and then we shifted the perspective, perspective is not the word, we shifted the orientation so that it would allow light into our event halls, allow light into our homes. Some people had these small windows in their homes, so they were functional. Hope we get it. It was functional at its time. The problem we have now is people copy and paste without connecting those designs with reality, and that is one of the things that created this problem of tiny windows. Then of course there is also economics. Economics is everybody's father and mother. Everybody learns economics by force, like they used to say, we all learn economics by force, right? Apologies for the break, please. So I'm saying that economics and poor customer knowledge, meaning the customers that wanted slim windows, they went abroad and saw those slim windows. They wanted to duplicate those slim windows. If they were properly educated, maybe by their customers or whatever factors, of course, economics also being a factor, they would have probably oriented those windows in this fashion. They would have probably made them. So, for example, look at this elevation. I'm sure you'd have seen it before in some offices. This is a wall, and you see this kind of window on this entire wall in European buildings. Now, if you want to copy this in Nigeria, you need to make the window a projected window. You cannot make it a sliding window. It is useless as a sliding window. So this, in my head, I'm talking about like a 2-meter wide window and a maybe 600 mm with 600 mm depth or length. So what I'm saying is that the persons that came up that copied these designs will work in your bank office, bank branches. They work in your offices, in your homes. You have to combine these windows with this kind of orientation where you are capturing wind. It is when you do things like that that these slim windows are not a problem. But when you just use them for your general house and you just use slim, like we call them slim fitted windows, as we call them nowadays, you will have problems. So it is not that it is a combination of economics and customer knowledge, and maybe a problem of the people who are communicating, the architects and the like, communication problem, helping the customer understand that, sir, this is your slim window. It will work in this place. It will not work in this place. I use these slim windows. I have a project we are coming up with. We will talk about later, that my team at SpaceCube, we are and Rainy Day together, we are partners that we are coming up with. We will use what you will call slim window, but you will see how we will use it and you will clap for us, because we are not going to put it in your living room, for example, where you need maximum air. We are putting it somewhere where you are the one that will keep it closed by yourself when you see the location. And this is where the understanding your site, which is why I started with this. I hope you can see it, please. Understanding your site and picking the appropriate design for your site within your locality, and all those factors come together. I have exceeded my time, so I'll be wrapping up now. Finishing and maintenance. So a lot of Nigerians do not maintain their homes. They expect that the Lord has finished their house. Manage is a lie. The Lord will not manage your house for you. The Lord has provided the money for your house. Congratulations. You, with your hand, you will manage the house. You will maintain the house. You will cut the grass. You will paint the wall. You will repair. Now, people that have not done certain things properly, when you are managing money, doing direct labor, that money you did not spend at the when you are choosing to manage money, I promise you, you will spend it in maintenance. You will spend it in maintenance when, for example, there is this type of profile of aluminum that Nigerians commonly use. They are trying to save money. You know, there are different thicknesses. So when you want to buy your aluminum, you can just go to the market. You see that there are different thickness. Each of them come with different levels of thickness. That thickness is telling you how long it will last. The coating on top is telling you how durable the body of your window frame will be. Some of us will remember that some of those old sliding windows, those dark ones that were popular in the late 90s, late 80s into early 2000s in the houses of the rich guys, those houses, their sliding door and windows are still lasting till today. Your own sliding window that you just installed in 2015, 2021, you're already changing it. Your construction method or contract method has come back to meet you in maintenance. Dear brother and sister, you have to maintain that window. You have to either remove it or, keep the glass. That's if you are lucky and you got original glass. Finishing, there is a lot to talk about, but I don't want to waste time. And testing. Now, this is a very important thing. When you have just moved into a house, it is testing phase. And that's, again, contract method. If you are working with a contractor, you'll be able to hold them and say, okay, this is testing phase. Let's check all the taps. Let's check all the electricals. The contractor usually has, there's a number of days, maybe 21 or so, to test alone before they hand over to you. They will come in, they will snag. That's where the word snag comes in. You do your internal snag, then they also come in, they snag, they check all the lights, they check all the switches, they check the taps, they check all the windows, are the hinges working, and all of that. You test. If everything works well, fine. Then after a few weeks of gentle use, take note of my word, gentle use, because Nigerians, you slam your door and you say that the hinge should not break. You now say the contractor did a bad job. You are a liar. So don't worry, none of us here is a liar. I'm just I'm just saying this generally. So testing is a continuous loop. Then after a few months, like we do in space view construction, we give you a balance to hold, and after 6 months, you then pay us that balance. If nothing is, we call it defect liability period. That's the standard in a standard contract. But a lot of people, because you've gone to meet Babalai, of course, you've paid Babalai all his money. You cannot get Babalai to come back. But Spaceview Construction will not run away, right? So that's where contractor selection method saves you from trouble. And of course, at the handover stage, and of course, after handover, you review and review and review, you sign off, and everybody goes their way. You pay them their money, and everybody says prays for each other and wishes each other well. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm ready to take questions. Thank you for listening. I do hope we have questions, and I do hope we've shared with a number of our friends and other persons, people who are building their houses. Share with them if they have questions, and let's all learn from one another. So I'm open to hearing your questions. You can type them out in the chat box, or you can ask directly. Unmute your mic and ask. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let's come forward with our questions. Enoma Alan, please go ahead with your question. Enoma Alan, please unmute yourself and ask your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, my question. Listen, you're saying something about clean windows. Because I came late and you explaining. So, what I want to know is, because usually, what's usually happening? People say that it's cheaper, and the cleaner the window, the cooler the place is going to be. So, but I don't know, like, does it actually work that way? Because over the years, I thought maybe it's probably you have to read more lighting into spaces like you're living in. So I was like, how do you now convince your client to explain to him more better for him to have like a better understanding of how those windows work?
All right, thank you very much. I think you are trying to say, first of all, that you want to know how what makes people choose those windows. Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
yes.
Okay, and how do we guide people on window choice?
Yes,
All right, thank you for the question. So, in very simple terms, there are different types of windows. Already in this video, I've talked about sliding windows. I've talked about hinged windows or hung windows, pivoted windows. We call some casement windows. There are also types of that's a type of hinged window. Casement windows are what are very common today, aside sliding windows. Now, you choose number one in terms of the size of the window. This space you are talking about determines what window you choose. So, for example, your bedroom windows and your living room windows are typically supposed. There's a percentage we usually use, but I mean we all do it off by heart now, so we don't even use those percentages. But your wall area of your window and should be, I think it's about 30 something. But I'll ask my architect friend to confirm of the room area. So in simple English, you should be your wall. If your wall should have at least 30% window space. So if your wall is 3 meters tall by 4 meters, that's 12 square meters. 30% of that is minimum of that. 30% of that should be your window area. If you want to manage money, maybe 20%. Now, if you have 4 walls, of course, that means that you should have at least 2 walls that bear 30% of window area. That's a typical calculation that we're taught in school. When you now apply that to design, you have to now consider interiors, you consider a lot of factors. So the summary is that the use of the space will determine which of the kinds of windows to use, the size of the window. For example, if you have a garden overlooking that place, you want a wide enough video so that the person, I said video, window, so that the person can have a view into the garden. I cannot have a big garden and then I have a 300 window that is just barely 300 is just about this size. It doesn't make sense to have a window like that when I have a garden. That has become a prison. But if the backyard is like a graveyard, you may want the window to be small because you don't want the person to be having morbid thoughts. People build houses around graveyards, so that happens, right? If it's an office, you that the storage room, the library, you can have smaller windows so that thieves don't break in. It's also windows are also a security tool. So my point is there are many factors that determine the choice of windows. So let me not take too much time. It's very specific to the room, to the space, to the customer, and of course, budget is the final factor. Thank you.
More questions, please. Who else is asking a question? I can see another person's hand raised. Paula Delowo, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good evening to you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, though I came in very late, but I got in. My interest is on. Is there a way? My question is there a way? Because I'm into insurance, and based on what I've been seeing, how houses have been collapsing and everything, and based on what you've been doing online, how you've been, helping, giving people and showing people what to do and creating awareness. Is there a way me as an insurance can collaborate with you as a builder? Since it's now mandated that every home must be insured, especially in
Okay, I
Lagos
think
State.
go ahead and send Stand Inspector a DM. That would be the most appropriate way to carry this conversation forward. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Paul, for raising that. So you can send us you can send a DM to me or to the team. I want to also mention that to us, and that's one of the things we are talking about with the choice of contractor. Your contractor will choose an insurer. We do that in our own projects, and if and in doing that, we are able to mitigate. We Because you are insuring, you have to think of the risks before you do that. A lot of people typically do indirect labor don't insure. The only reason why people insure in Lagos nowadays is because the government has made it mandatory to give you your building permit. That's after you get your approval, the permit to build. In some states, they still don't enforce that law that Mr. Paul is talking about. But thank you for bringing it up. Someone else has a question. I think Mr. Marcos. You can go ahead, sir.
So my question is, all you said now, right? Why is the construction industry in Nigeria, especially, why is it not transparent enough? Or do you think it's transparent enough? And if you think it's transparent enough, how is it transparent? And if I won't want you to tell me, oh, it depends on the contractor, because the tradition in Nigeria construction industry is that you just finance the project, we'll give you updates, and we'll take it that way. But is there a way that no matter where the client is, the owner of this property is, the person can regularly get updates in real time about what is going on without have to be there? Is there technology available? Or is there a contractor using this technology? Because all these things you've said now, it doesn't really matter much to homeowners who are ignorant about all this technical stuff. Because the title of this thing is Build Your Home, right? What matters to them is they want real-time updates of what you are doing. They want to know they want to understand, at least just let them be able to see what you are doing. But it's not the case in the construction industry in Nigeria. There's a lot of padded prices, there's a lot of untrustworthiness, and that's why a lot of clients are afraid to start projects. Get me? So is there a way you, snag inspector, can solve that issue for clients? That's my question.
All right. Thank you very much for this. It's a very sensitive question. I remember I mentioned trust in the middle of the conversation. So yes. First of all, the most basic thing is, as a standard in our own company, we plant CCTV cameras on site by design. So whether it's not in your bill, it's just our default. We plant minimum of 2 CCTV cameras on the site to start with. So at least you're able to, if somebody says he brought 500 bags of cement, you will see the 500 bags being delivered. And that at least that's addresses, you may not see some quality things in terms of, you may not be able to measure if they bought high quality wires, for example, via the CCTV, but at least you can see that, okay, these people truly even brought the wires. Because it's one thing, like you said, in Nigeria, sometimes people even pay money and they don't even see both the house and both the building and sand. They will not even see anything. So that's one, CCTV. Now, beyond that, which is why I talked about monitoring mechanism. And of course, I didn't want to drag the speech too long, the teaching too long, but there are many things that we do as a company. So number one, we have independent, we encourage independent monitoring. What I mean by independent monitoring means we are going to be submitting weekly reports to you. That one is standard. I'm not talking about it. We'll submit weekly reports to you. We have archives of reports for different customers from far back as 2016 projects. I still have some of them with us. So we give you weekly reports. That one is a given. You are not asking us for that. We then, so we encourage you to read those reports, ask us questions. We usually have a session to discuss that. Now you are in the UK, you are in Germany, you are in Australia, another time zone entirely. How do you make sure that what we've written in the report, what you've seen on your CCTV camera is what is there in real life? Two ways to monitor. Number one, you monitor through government agencies. So there are some parts that the government has to review, right? For example, we have to do soil tests. We show the report. We have to do structural tests, non-destructive tests. I mean, we call them cube tests, crush testing, and all of that on our concrete cubes. We have to do tensile stress tests on the rebars that we buy for you. So we have to show you that report. That report it must come from a verified agency. That is the government side. The second side is the client or customer side. The customer also still has to be able to bring. The customer still has to be able to bring people. So we usually encourage the person to have one person or two persons. We call them. We have a client liaison officer rather appointed to each project. So the client liaison officer or customer liaison officer relates directly with your person on site. So your brother that you think he likes money, and it's the reason why you did not give the project to him, you will still need your brother, because no matter how bad, except for bad reasons, you still need that person because he has your interest at heart, or at least we assume he has your interest at heart. And that person will now say, my brother, these people say that they brought sharp sand, but that sharp sand is not original sharp sand though. True, you see sharp sand for CCTV, but it's not original sharp sand though. They went to bring sand from the gutter. That is where you will, because no matter what, you have to have someone. Now we carry out all of those tests. We'll give you reports. You will get results. You'll be tired. You even need to have time to read our reports. The question then is, would you have somebody to sit with you to monitor that? We'll give you government reports, government certified labs for all the structural integrity tests and all of those things. But what you then need is someone that is independent. It can be someone you appoint. It can be an agent. I personally recommend agents rather than family members. But I notice that Nigerians don't want to incur that extra cost. That's what I'm talking about, family members. I recommend agencies. When I say an agency, I mean a company that says, oh, Mr. XYZ Limited, help me to be checking Snag Inspectors Company, Space Cube Construction Limited. Am I sure that they are using original block, or they are just showing me video of fake block? That person is independent. He does not know me. He does not like me. He cares about the money he's collecting from you. In doing that, you have sufficient monitoring to and transparency and accountability on the part of all parties. You talked about costing. I think that is, if you are dealing with a contractor, that's not really a problem, because all you need to do is to make sure that you review the bill by yourself. And maybe I know a customer of mine who every bill I sent to him, he had a friend who was a quantity surveyor or something, and the person would go back and bill, and at a point he stopped sending it to him because he found out that I was too cheap. So sometimes I blame myself. Maybe I was too cheap. But I mean, that's, by the way, that's on a lighter note. So you have that kind of thing going on depending on the customer. But I recommend agencies. But if you don't want to use agencies, use your family member that you trust. Use maybe a church member, all those, your social circle people that you left back in Nigeria. And even some people in Nigeria don't have time to monitor projects. So it's not just about people in diaspora. But we have experienced different levels of monitoring like that, and we, of course, we consider our reputation to be very significant, important to us. So we make sure that we are accountable to our customers. I hope that answers your question.
I would also like to add, Mr. Marcus, that one of the mantras that we have in construction is that there is nothing you are trying to build that should not have a bill. Even Dangote Refinery, he got built from contractors to decide, oh, am I going with this methodology or not? So if it is when people try to be clever by half, overwise about the Ashaka say that thing, that they fall into the prey of somebody who will say this project will cost 10,000. Then they start the project, and the person come back and say, we now have to charge you 50,000 because the person has caught them in the middle of the project. The standard thing that Spaceship does is to give you a bill of quantities that speaks to the exact thing that is being done. So you may have met contractors who are shady in their ways or have not put forth their best behavior. But I assure you that it's not hard. There is nothing that Spacecube will send you in terms of bill that you cannot go and independently verify from another quantity surveyor. We've had conversations around this with investment banks, with institutional customers who have a lot of workforce. So they have accountants, they have external consultants and stuff. And so if the bill is done correctly, at most, the professional will, the other person who is helping you verify it can say, maybe this thing can come down by 5%. Maybe this thing can come down by 10%, which is going to just be subject to their own personal leaning. Not that something is supposed to cost 200 naira, but they have gone to bill it at 500 naira per unit. Or a project that should cost 500 million, they are billing you at 1.5 billion. So that's the thing that I want you to bear in mind. Everything that makes construction work is tied to reporting. Is your contractor reporting accurately to you? If they are not, then you are going to run into trouble. If the contractor is reporting to you from time to time, you would have a logical trail of how the project went from X to Y. So if you are doing a project right now, and the contractor already gave you maybe a bill of 1.5 million 2 weeks ago to do a concrete slab, the contractor can write you back now this week that it is not going to work again. They will have, if it is Spacecube will tell you that the reason why it cannot work again is that cement has now gone from 10,000 plus to 12,800 as at today. And you can independently verify that in the market. Where you would have problem as a customer is where you are trying to be smart and say, no, I want you to do it at that old price. That's what happens with many Nigerians. They want to hold on to a price and they are not paying you all the money at the same time. So they want you to basically work for them for free. But if the contractor is telling you that, Dangote cement or Boa cement or whatever cement was X last week, but has gone up X plus 30% this week, therefore I have to review my bill. Fuel, diesel, petrol, whatever, was 600 naira in December or 800 naira in December. Now it is 1,000 plus. There has to be a logical reason to why the bill is going up. As long as the contractor is forthright about that, you as a project owner will be able to see the flow. This is why this is going up, and this is why this is not going up. And everybody would pat themselves on the back and the work will carry on. So I hope that also provides a balance in terms of matching, because Nigeria is an inflationary environment. You need to match your expectations with the on-ground reality. Like when iron rod went from 650,000 or 550,000 to 1 million plus, your bills are going to change. Your contractor is not the one that manufactures iron rod, but your contractor should communicate clearly that this is why this is changing. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. You really answered my question, and you touched on some things I would like to quickly point out. I won't talk much. Just please touch on this one. The very important thing you mentioned is inflation, right? Now, for the inflation where things get expensive and changes the whole budget of the project, right?
Okay.
Is it wrong for you to send a bill of quantities that has the highest amount possible without overpricing the project? that also secures emergency inflation no one expects. Do you get my question? So
I get
if okay, you answer my question, right?
you can use your example so that
Okay,
everybody
so
else
if for example this project will cost 100 million, right? Based on the price now, but you now say you put a soft landing just in case there's inflation, emergency price. Oh,
yeah,
now let's just make it 115 million.
yes.
If there's no inflation so you're going to pay 150 million. If there's no inflation now, between now and when the project ends, no visible inflation, we are going to refund back to you 50% of the or 70% of the money you paid extra for emergency inflation. Doing this way is not transparent enough. Would it drive away the client from you, or would it even attract them more? What do you think?
Okay. Before I answer your question, let me do as a Nigerian. What do you do, Mr. Okola, so I know how to explain this to you? Hello?
Okay, I currently study architecture.
Oh, currently, so you're a student of architecture, so good.
Yeah.
The problem with Nigeria is, so I wanted to be sure which side you are speaking from. The problem with the Nigerian economy is that incidents are happening all over the world once in 10 years, happen in Nigeria every other year. Like it's just another Monday in Nigeria. If things go up from 500 naira to 1,000, it's just another Monday. Nobody will cry, nobody will riot, life will go on. I remember on one of our projects, this project that is being shown currently, we were on site and I was checking certain information, certain data sources, and I was telling the team that, see, buy all your iron rods today, buy all these today. I was telling the QS. He said, why? I said, by Monday, you will not be able to buy it at that price again. He looked at me. He was shocked. Okay. And so he just went ahead. I mean, executive instruction. He went ahead and carried out everything. He ordered for everything. By the time they delivered it, right, as the guy was delivering the materials, the guy told him, so the next time I'm going to, if you want to buy more now, I will have to add more new things have gone up on a Saturday afternoon. The QS looked at me and said, Mr. Funso, how did you know this will happen? I said, I already have data sources that point to the fact that by Monday morning, things are going to jump up by at least 30%. So, are you going to inflate your bill to your customer unnecessarily by 30%, knowing that most customers don't even pay lump sum, and then the customer looks at you like a thief? And there is Baba Mulika or Mr. Daniel that does not inflate his bill, but knows that you will get stuck in the middle and you will still have to go and bring out the money. And most customers usually do their projects in milestones. So you can't even, so if you started a project in 2023, when Buhari was there, it is still not out of place that you may be trying to wrap up the project now. Do you understand?
I understand.
Yeah. So in that same period, the dollar has moved from 750 to what? 1,800 at some point, almost 2,000 at some point, and then back to 16, 15, 14, you know. How do you build that customer with that projection in 2023, knowing that the customer may not even have all the money to pay you at once, talk less of you buying all the materials at once? So, which means you have to advise the customer on a step-by-step basis so that there is transparency on your side. You don't look like a thief, and then you don't kill your customer before you even finish your project.
And sometimes they won't want you to build them in dollars, because if you can build them in dollars, the price will be more stable.
No, even in dollars cannot work, because, for example, how do you bill for petrol or labor wages? Look, let's say diesel, for example. You need to use diesel on site, and that there will be subsidy removal less than 1 month later when President Tinubu came in. How do you factor that into your risk model? Even if you have the information, how do you explain it to your customer without your customer looking at you like a mad person? The customer will just tell you, wait, let them do it, then we'll come back to the negotiation table. It is only corporates that are able to absorb so much of such extraneous information that does not immediately matter to them. Any other person will tell you, don't kill me. When it happens, we'll come back, we'll see, we'll talk about it. But for now, carry on with the project at 200 naira per liter petrol. When they remove subsidy, we will see each other again. I hope that's very clear to you.
Understandable. Clear.
Right. Does anybody have any other questions, please? As we get along with the session this evening. Do ask your questions, please, before we come to the end of today's session.
Sorry, please. Sorry. Since nobody asked questions, I was just being patient. Let me quickly ask one more question, please. Okay. So it's concerning bill of quantities. Bill of quantities shows the prices of materials and services of a particular construction plant. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Yes. Now, because of this inflation of everything, it doesn't mean that a bill of quantity shouldn't have detailed prices. Am I correct?
A bill of quantity should have prices.
Detailed prices, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's the way to just know, because I'm like, if there's this level of inflation in Nigeria, it doesn't mean that if a client says, I would like to see bill of quantities for this product, you will not give him detailed prices anyway, even though there's going to be
No, the detailed prices are at that moment. They are valid at that moment. If there's any material event that change, so the war in Iran versus US now, it's a material global event. You will not ask the contractor to continue to hold on the price for something that is affected by the blockage in the Strait of Hormuz, or oil prices, or something that is not, or government policy, removal of subsidy or anything. Whatever price you get at that point is the price at that point. If it changes, the contractor is well within his right to come back to you and explain to you like a reasonable, a rational adult that this is what has changed, and this is why it has changed, and this is the new price at this time. And everybody,
I also want to clarify on this detailed price thing, that when, for example, your QS is billing for 50 cubic feet of concrete, it will not tell you 3 bags of cement, 1,500, 2 bricklayers, 3,000 naira per day. So he will not give you that detail. What quantity surveyors do is, a bill of quantities is not a detailed bill. So if you want, the person can give you. If the company chooses to give you, they can give you. Because, for example, a good construction company, and you can check with JB as an example, or Elalan and the likes, you would find that they would bill for eventualities. Now, if I bill for eventualities, it means that I will not tell you that concrete is a particular. I mean, if you do your own individual calculation for, okay, concrete, this floor slab is for 600 square meters. If you do your own calculation, that may come to maybe 300 bags of cement. Whereas your QS's bill, you may see it looking like 400 bags of cement. What you will not see is the potential that some bags of cement will cake. I mean, from the dealer, they would have caked. And trust me, no dealer is collecting caked cement from you, except it is at the point of counting. But once you've put it in your site and it has slept overnight, not even slept overnight, once it has come off their truck and their truck has disappeared, if you see it the following hour, you are too late. So who is going to pay for that? It is not the contractor that decided to bring that for you. do you understand? There are many other factors. I don't want to talk too much, but my point is that detail. A lot of people look for too many details, and that is fine. They want, because you are talking about transparency. That is fine, ideally. But the truth is, there's a project we did where three buckets of paint wasted. They spoiled, and it was because the customer traveled. Blah blah blah. Long story. They wasted. We didn't charge the person additional because we had already billed that if it wastes rather, what are you going to do? That is an eventuality that a professional will bill for. Just like when you have when you're about to have a baby, the hospital will bill you for blood, assuming you need blood transfusion. I promise you, no hospital will pay you back that money. Or maybe you've seen hospital that pays you back that money. But you'll be happy. Well, of course, you'll be happy if, God forbid, there's an emergency and the 2 pints of blood you paid for are eventually useful. The hospital at the point of delivery will bill you for at least.
So are you saying that you guys don't bill for eventualities, which is what I was trying to say at the beginning?
Bill for eventualities, but obviously I'm not going to bill you what some of those bigger companies will bill you. I will not do that.
Okay.
And I'll most likely even put it on a line item and say so their names, you call it and all that, and I will explain to you if you are. So that is the transparency you're talking about. Yes, I will explain to you that eventualities will happen. But if you now see my eventualities bill and you strike it off, I will not take you as a serious customer, because eventualities always happen. They just may not happen at the point that you anticipate it. I mean, anticipate them, but they will always happen.
I see. So if a client is asking you, last question, final. If the client is asking you, say, okay, how can I trust you? With send me verification documents that I can use to trust you. What would you send the client?
Verification documents in what sense? I mean, that's an
the client wants to use you now, for example, you guys now, right? But the client, apart from your videos, pictures, your ID, your website, I mean your normal execution ID card, if they're trying to know if they can trust you, I'm saying this because I'm a young architect, and eventually I'll go into this if I want to start. If they want to, so what do you send to them?
Reputation, your track record. Who have you worked for? What can they say about you? What projects have you done? You show them if you worked under a company, they should be able to see your reference. If you've done a project, you should be able to point them to the project. Even if it's the project is in Kutu range, the address, the place has an address. You can send them here to go and check. So within a boundary of reason, the person should be able to come to their own make their own independent findings of you after you have done all of that. If they still cannot see themselves contracting you, then maybe you are just not for them, or you are not just for you, and which may be a good thing, because it can be a road to hell if you are working with a customer who does not trust anybody and is out to hang you as a criminal. You may just be in your best interest to bid them farewell and move on your merry way.
Thank you very much. That's all for now.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, please? All right. I think that in the absence of any question, it's been a pleasure speaking with everyone. Once again, my name is Olufunsho Akesoya. I am member 001 and president at Rainy Day Cooperative. If you'd like to keep in touch with us, we hold this kind of programs every Thursday, addressing various issues around human experience. And we are happy to have you. We're also happy to have you join Rainy Day through any of our product lines. We have our cashew farm. We have the Lagos Housing Program coming up, which is encompassing both our development of 1,000 homes in our phase 1 for Lagos and Greater Lagos, and the input industries, say things like furniture, we're investing in furniture, we're investing in other aspects of the built environment. We are a community of people who put our money where our mouth is, and we work together for collective prosperity. We have projects that we are pursuing together, and these projects continue to provide inspiration for all of us, because the projects are, we don't do small things. I can beat my chest to say that. We do big things. And these projects ride on the complementary skill sets that people have at Rainy Day. So we are a community, we are a cooperative, we are a movement. So you can see on the slide our Lagos Housing Program, for example. We have a project coming up in Orchid that we are going to be handing over in December, by God's grace. We also have our cashew farm in Ogbomoso, which is the Ikoyi of Oyo State. There is Ikoyi Lagos and there is Ikoyi in Oyo State. So the Ikoyi in Oyo State, if you cannot buy land in Ikoyi in Lagos, you can buy land in Ikoyi in Oyo State. The entry amount for that is relatively affordable. You can pay in 6 months and you can pay in 12 months, and you can pay outrightly for a discount, and you can buy as much as 100 acres of land. We are the ones, our team, also members of Rainy Day, are the ones developing this farm. However, we are not doing small plots and wasting our time. We are investing in a properly built plantation in partnership with the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, which is the government-mandated research institution for cashew in Nigeria. So we continue to do these projects, we continue to support our members, we continue to collaborate and to do big things. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday, and you are also welcome if you like to join our monthly meetings where we discuss our detailed project updates at Rainy Day. You can drop your email or text us on WhatsApp or Snag Inspector's DM or Rainy Day Cooperative DM or our WhatsApp number, any of our contacts. Just go to our website, click on the WhatsApp button there, drop your email. We would include you in our mailing list so that you can join us and learn. Even if you're a student like Mr. Marcos, some of the things that we do currently, we learned them when we were in university many decades ago. So you would find a lot of other professionals who you can learn from, and they can also learn from you. Once again, I thank you for joining us, and I wish you a very good evening.